3, 2, 1. Oh, that's a wet little girl. That's a quote from Scoot. Rest in peace.
Damn, he chose a banger.
Not a joke. I don't know. It's difficult to get the information to everybody because there's still people like kind of figuring it. Like just not everybody. It's impossible to try and get everybody on the same page about a thing that's happened. So that's annoying. But anyway, sorry. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. This is Sardonicast.
And I'm Alex from HE, and I suppose this is coming at you a little bit delayed compared to normal because you've had to wade through something you weren't expecting to. Here we are.
Scott passed away, unfortunately, so sorry if all of my adjacent content's going to be like a little heavy for the next month. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how things go. I'm still figuring things out.
Of course, yeah. Sometimes life just comes at you in a way you cannot anticipate. I was very surprised when you sent that message and told me, and we're just hanging out in April. Like it's quite surreal. It's quite strange.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm glad you got to meet him a couple times. Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, same. And I've been quite impressed by the like groundswell reaction, like online, to all the fan art and the stories and whatnot. It's quite emotional. Like the reach and whatnot.
A lot more positive than I possibly could have anticipated.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly positive.
Well, you're kind of getting at it in the intro of like, obviously there's a lot going around in your mind of like, how do we talk about this? How do we address this? So obviously that's a fear. So that is nice. It's being respected.
Yeah. He made a huge impact.
A hilarious guy.
Yeah. Like I'm not like a huge wrestling person, but like people loved him. And we all loved him, and it sucks. Shit sucks. But was not anticipating it. Wasn't on my list.
No. But yeah, it's just one of those things, though, isn't it? You can't. It's not one of those things you can like be ready for, is it? Like it's never a good time. It's always just going to kind of trip you up.
Which is weird because I feel like I'm the type of person to like prepare myself for every potential possible scenario and tragedy. You know? I feel like in my mind that I've like gone through at least like somewhat likely or inevitable scenarios of potential things that could...
But like some variables are like just seem so random you can't like anticipate everything, you know?
Yeah, it's anyway. So if anybody's kind of left in the dark about this, I just did a stream yesterday. We kind of went into more details about like what we know about what happened.
Yeah,
we don't know everything, but we gave some information. So that should be on the highlights channel by the time this episode's up. If you need more information and. Yeah, well, he would want us to make jokes, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's make fun of some French people.
Oh, shit. You know what's crazy? So, all right, well, I guess we'll start the movie discussion because it's about the movie discussion.
Okay, let's go. Nice trilogy episode. Let's do this.
Trois colères. That sounded definitely not like a French person. Three Colors trilogy is from a Polish guy named Krzysztof Kieslowski, and I still haven't looked up how to pronounce it.
I'm just so glad you had to say it. Well, yeah, I'm just glad you had to say it, that's all.
And I think he was petitioned by like the French government to make some movies about colors in the French flag, that kind of. So
I didn't know this detail. He was what? Sorry, he was.
Well, that's what multiple people have told me, and I have not fact checked it. So maybe I should. Let's look it up.
Because I was also kind of confused by that frame. I didn't know much about these movies. I knew they existed. I've had them on DVD actually for a while. But I figured it was more about like 3 stories to do with like the French Revolution or something historical or like a big epic in that way. That's more what I was kind of anticipating. So I was quite pleasantly surprised by what it did turn out to be.
So I don't know if the French government necessarily... Oh, wait. Why did people say that?
Where did you hear it?
From multiple people.
3 Colors Blue.
But I don't remember who. So I guess it said... What I'm reading is French investors, so not necessarily the government. Which makes a bit more sense, because I'm like, okay, usually, like, if a government's going to finance a film, like, you think that they would be a bit more strict in, like, what... Like, it would be more lame. He would have a lot less creative freedom if it was, like, a government-funded film. That's what I was thinking.
I don't know, it depends. I feel like I feel like the British government funds some good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But there's a difference between like getting a grant and getting like
we're talking subsidies or
not like a subsidy. But my understanding of the story was like the French government was like, hey, want to make a movie about the French
like
flag?
A full commission, like
he was petitioned by them or something. But I guess if somebody's got the details to that, please post it in the comments. I'm sorry, I've been a little distracted over the past week.
Of course,
so I'm not This episode, I'm not like as fully prepared for everything as I would be, but I really need to get back into some sort of like routine and normalcy. So I was still able to watch the movies eventually. So I get the correct order of the films is blue, white, red, and I guess those are the colors of the French flag.
Yeah, and each one is what's supposed to represent what's the order? Liberty, equality, and fraternity or brotherhood.
Yeah.
So each one of the films is kind of framed like that.
Yeah. It says the money to fund the films is French, but I just nothing said about the government.
Yeah, what does it mean? Yeah.
So here we are, dispelling those rumors or not confirming anything and leaving it up for the audience to figure out. So Blue stars Juliette Binoche, who I really enjoy. I think she does great work overall.
She's wonderful.
I'm always happy to see her star in something like really artistic. This film, I guess spoiler warning for all 3 of these films right now too. It's about a woman who loses a husband and a child in a car accident. And it's about a lot of, it's about her like dealing with grief and trauma and like the aftermath. And what was really weird about this film is I don't know if you saw this, but like, I was doing a watch along for the first film. I decided to watch the 2 after off stream, like a week after. But I was about a week ago. I was watching this film, planning on just marathoning all 3 of them in the same day, and it was literally in like 10 minutes before this film ended that I got 2 missed phone calls and then a text from a new number saying it was Scott's sister. I was like, oh, so literally like
during that.
It was during this movie.
Oh my God.
Which is weird and odd. Well, I mean, it's kind of coincidental.
That's very weird considering like the
themes of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that is a interesting coincidence.
Yeah. And so then, I returned the phone call. I just like left the room and then came back and obviously had to end the stream.
Yeah, I'd seen that clip, but I didn't realize you were literally watching this film during it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, very odd. And it wasn't even my plan to watch it that day. I was initially going to watch it the day before, I think, but so yeah, that's fucking weird, and now I have this like I guess kind of like unbreakable association with like this film and this trilogy.
Yeah, that's a trauma bond right there with this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an interesting element of it for me as well, even being more tangentially related to that. And I've had other deaths in my family semi-recently, so these kind of concepts are on the mind. But how do you think? Because I was actually going to ask you, like, did you watch this before or after? Because of
during, like, but slightly before.
During, yeah, I was not expecting that to be the goddamn answer, but
like literally, yeah, last 10 minutes, like I you know, wasn't quite sure what was going on, but knew that I had to return a phone call at the very least.
Yeah, something serious was happening. That is surreal.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. But I guess to do with the film itself, I did really like the film. I think that this is probably my favorite out of the three. I know that a lot of people love Red the most, but
I was kind of hoping we were going to disagree on this because I was like,
you're expecting me to go Red?
I don't know. I just hoped we had a different favorite one. That was all I was thinking. Because I was reading the same thing that after I'd watched them all, that like Red is the one. It's got like the perfect scores. Everyone saying is the best, but Blue is the one that is the most memorable to me, the most creatively interesting in ways that like I haven't seen before with some of these like techniques and things they're doing with the lighting and this insane commitment to the mise-en-scene that is in all of them, all three of them.
Oh yeah.
So I guess like going back to that whole framing of the blue, white, and red, and just taking that to the most extreme creative like end you possibly could, like really embracing it, making it thematic, making it visual. It all feeds into itself. And if we're just talking about blue right now, obviously the look of the movie is extremely blue. There's blue items everywhere. It's all very intentional, and it's kind of, I was already appreciating all three of them on that level, and that was entertaining in and of itself for me. Just that level of dedication to following through on that idea, and like how that enhances the story they're telling though as well. Like it's not just a gimmick. It doesn't feel like a gimmick. It's actually enhancing an emotion. Like with Blue. Blue does evoke like sadness, grief, loneliness, coldness, but also things kind of like calmness. If you think like an ocean, a sky or whatnot. And every scene in the movie like falls into one of these things. It all feels very like diegetic and natural, like creatively, and the writing of it. And the production wise, it's beautiful.
This is going to sound like a silly question. Have you seen I Know Who Killed Me with Lindsay Lohan?
I'm afraid not, but I'm going to add that to my list now.
We actually did like a Adam and Pals thing. So if you want to watch In Memory of Scoot, if you want to watch
that might be a bit more enjoyable. Yeah.
Tear it apart. It kind of, it's funny because it kind of tries to do that same thing. There's just like random blue things throughout the movie, but it feels so much less purposeful. It's just a why.
Oh, but it doesn't link to anything.
Like it feels like a distracting gimmick that doesn't fit the pieces of what the story is trying to tell or what the film thinks it is.
No,
and it's like it's just like one of the worst, trashiest movies, but thinks it's an art house piece, I guess.
The best kind.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. So I'm glad to have seen this, to have a much better film that does the blue motif.
Example of doing it right.
Yeah, in a way that's certainly not like subtle. It's certainly not subtle, but it still feels like appropriate.
I'm not sure if I call any of these subtle.
Yeah, the visuals especially.
Even though they do have kind of like real grounded drama and dialogue and emotion, and it is kind of understated, and there's like a lot of self-explanatory imagery instead of like lots and lots of dialogue. There's plenty of dialogue, and a lot of it is great, but they also like will slow things down, allow the visuals to speak for themselves. And Blue, as far as the expressive imagery, is, again, I think the strongest with the stuff it conjures in my mind with Yeah, just this type of imagery that really matches these themes of grief, be it her floating in the pool with her hands on her head, or like visiting her mother with Alzheimer's and she's watching bungee jumping on the television, like just these complementary visuals with like what's going on and what's being talked about, and these extreme close-ups in eyes and reflections and all these interesting things to kind of pick apart and unpack. And this one and Red mostly, I felt like I need to see this again. Like, I've missed some stuff here. There's definitely detail, even just the kind of interesting way they're connected, where we say this is a trilogy, but it's quite different to all the other trilogies we have spoken about before, where they're all stylistically fairly different. They're all the characters are very different. The genres are different.
Yeah, like tonally.
Like the middle one's a comedy, tonally, completely different. They're like styles of characters they're playing with, but then also kind of loosely connecting them, like these weird little MCU cameos. Like, oh, I remember that one from the other movie.
Yeah, it's like a Tarantino verse.
Yeah, but it's so restrained, it's so subtle, and yeah, you could imagine that really tripping over itself. 'Cause I feel that this is like a concept I feel like we kind of talked about in various different forms, even with something like Magnolia, these big sprawling narratives that are like interconnected. I feel there's something about that concept that I feel like is really intriguing to a lot of directors. I'm sure, like, when you've been daydreaming or thinking about stories yourself, like, I've had the thought myself, like a story where there's some like event that connects like some people, but it's like three different perspectives. It's all different, but somehow connected, and that connection gives it some kind of inherent value.
Yeah. Just each person with their own story.
Yeah. But the way it's done here is like, very unique, very creative, very, very high concept, but they pull it off. And yeah, you do have weird things where like little details, just like in each film, there's an old person trying to recycle a bottle.
Yeah.
And turning that into a payoff.
It's just like too high.
Yeah, exactly. But turning that whole recurring scene into a payoff in the third movie. And these kinds of things that like, it's kind of a memorable scene on its own in Blue anyway, seeing that kind of struggle and having that main character just kind of sitting there watching this old lady struggle. But then, these multiple layers.
Yeah, there's something about it that like sticks.
Yeah, it sticks, but then there's like these unexpected payoffs to it as well.
Yeah.
That like reward you for paying attention.
Yeah. I like, so this movie, in terms of, I guess, the sequences that are shown, this movie is the most repetitive, but I think that it works for the story that it's trying to tell.
Repetitive in terms of what? Sorry.
Well, I mean, like, we keep getting the same, similar sequences of like her back at the pool and, like the music sequences, but they kind of like build up over the course of the film, and she's kind of, in ways, stuck in a kind of routine and pattern. But I think that communicates something about grief really well, that, sometimes there are patterns that you either have to be able to continue to process things, or patterns that you need to like reflect on to change even. Yeah.
And it's kind of like that main character is coming to terms with the concept. That's like the journey of the movie in my mind, is her. Yeah. She starts off trying to run away from it. It's a tragedy on a level that's so kind of extreme. And the way it's depicted is not Hollywood. It's not over exaggerated or any of this. There's not loads of scenes of her breaking down, crying, and hamming up any kind of emotion. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's quite a unique depiction of grief. I was finding it, with like her meeting the woman who's like hiding, crying, and saying, "I'm crying because you're not crying." And these kind of scenes and the exploration of just what she's carrying around. I wasn't really sure what it was going for until that scene where she's walking around and starts dragging her knuckles like brutally against that wall.
That was an awesome shot.
I thought that was amazing. Yeah, that's when I really started kind of falling for the movie. But yeah, just it's such an interesting lead character and the way they explore it, and yeah, her running from this guilt and this whole idea of like these three words we mentioned, the what was it? Liberty, equality, and fraternity. I've been trying to think about the liberty, if this is if that's like the thematic baseline of where this began, at liberty, what an interesting way to explore that concept. Like the liberty of losing everything and starting there. And like the kind of the negative freedom that brings and how it turns into something more positive, where like,
yeah,
she does keep making these connections with people. She does keep, even through running, like finding people that she's, you know, connecting with and forming relationships with. And it actually ends in kind of an upper note with her, you know, going through her memories, thinking about the people she's had relationships with, and it turns into a smile. That kind of deep sadness that's carried throughout the movie does lift somewhat at the end, a little bit anyway.
There's like a liberation and like pulling through.
Yeah.
Like getting through the trauma and the grief.
And how did you feel about the integration of her being a composer? And the integration of music and her sort of being haunted by this music that keeps coming back to her, and this unfinished piece that she has. This infidelity is quite a recurring thing with these movies too. She has this relationship with someone who used to work with her husband who passed, who was also a big composer. They kind of nod that she was kind of the one who was writing a lot of the stuff, and he was getting some of the credit for it. But yeah, how did you find that use of the music?
Those are like my favorite scenes, really. Is like those are so memorable, and the way that it's expressed visually and sound wise. Like it's all not only very accurate but just very purposeful. And I love, you know, my favorite things about movies is being able to take the medium of filmmaking and explore what characters are experiencing internally and showing it through what you're presenting in the film, and not rather than just explaining it. And you're able to get a lot out of it. Like, you know, when she's like in the stairwell and she's like kind of like almost passing out the first time, and you can kind of hear the music creeping in and see the blue kind of like light fractal, whatever we're supposed to call them, not fractal, refractions, maybe. I don't know. You know, that subtle, just like creeping in and then being pulled out of it as her head kind of like tilts back up and then going back into it again. You can get so much out of what's happening internally with the character in that scene, and then just the visual and auditory nature near the end of showing the notation and, you know, her discussing which layers of the composition to add, which to subtract, and then literally like unbroken in the score, just timed out perfectly. These things are being translated in real time for us to hear, which I think is super cool. And it's so creative and unique, and just what a great way to communicate these. Yeah. Emotions.
In that exact same scene when the visuals blur while the audio is still going, to just really emphasize and make you focus on that composition scene. And really, I find that interesting as like a concept, the way to visually kind of depict music, or the act of creating music, and that process, and like how to communicate that. And I thought it was very well done, and inventive. And what you're saying also applies to one of my favorite sort of technical choices in the movie, or creative choices. I think it's 3 times this fade to black usage. The way that is used with it, normally when you fade a scene to black, that's the end of the scene. You're implying time is passing. The way it's used here is within the middle of a scene, it will fade to black. There'll be a musical sting, and then it will fade back in to the same scene. And the first time it happens, you're kind of like, huh? Yeah. Oh, okay. We're returning to the same scene. Yeah. But by the time it's done at the 3rd time, it's like, wow, each one of these is what a creative way of communicating that. And it's such a like abstract concept. You know, when you receive like a horrifying or harrowing piece of information, it does kind of feel like time does stop, or like there's a pause, or something breaks like in that moment, and like just using fades, so such a simple kind of concept, but the like emotional effect that has, I thought was brilliant. And by the time they did the third like return to it, is like, and each one of these is like punctuating a different moment for a different reason. That's brilliant. I think that's creatively genius. And that's I don't think there's anything quite on that level for me in the other ones.
I think there's also what I've come to realize about myself is I really enjoy, like, not every instance of this, but I particularly in a film that's well presented that I'm connecting with, I really enjoy seeing characters within the film creating things artistically and going through the artistic process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed just watching the composition and having that communicated through the film. Obviously, I love films that feature people making movies within the film as well. Obviously, there's tons of bad examples of this type of thing. Bohemian Rhapsody is like a terrible movie. Like I get.
We
no
just talked about The Curse. That's a good example of it.
Yeah. I love seeing people creating things within a show or a film, and there is some sort of satisfaction that I get out of seeing things come together and seeing the individual pieces coming together to make something more whole,
and seeing the messy part of the creative process. The way that kind of resolves within the film, where she is working with this guy that she kind of had an affair with to finish this piece of music, and there's kind of a phone call that resolves it, where he's like, I can't work with you, like even if it's rough around the edges, I need this to be mine. And she's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we can't undo the legacy. We can't do this.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
Very thought provoking. Like, I found it out of the three to be the most challenging. With that kind of stuff and the way it was exploring these concepts and kind of how heavy it was, but being able to maintain that heaviness and explore that thoroughly, but then just have that glint of hope at the end. So, love that.
Yeah, it's out of the three films, it's definitely stuck with me the most, and I really am looking forward to watching this again, like all three of them, really, because I think that they're more interesting in context with each other. Although this is like still really great as a standalone film.
I would say they all are, to be honest. I'd say they all stand alone.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, in terms of just how, I guess, aggressively stylistic this film is, it really sticks with me in that way. Like it's great to vividly remember specific shots and specific emotions and sounds. The sound design in this movie is incredible. The score is incredible. Yeah. I would say it's got the best score and the best sound design out of all three, in my opinion. And for that to be integrated into the film in a way that's really purposeful is just makes it stick that much more in my memory.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to what I was saying with the just everything feeding into itself. The concept is fully explored. It avoids going into the kind of corny gimmick area with this idea that it definitely could do. It's easily the most memorable to me. Yeah, I just think about the uncomfortable nature of the scene where she's crunching on that blue lollipop in front of the fireplace, and just all these like subtle character building moments. And also, I thought there was a really standout, fantastic scene. When the boy that's shown in the beginning of the movie who finds the car crash kind of manages to find the lead woman and reconnect with her. There's an awesome like structure to that scene where he says, his last words were something weird. Like he said, "Now try coughing," as his last words, and then she starts laughing. And the scene turns into sort of a backwards joke explaining scene, which it changes the like state of the character. It must be one of the first times you see a smile like in the movie, like a bit of happiness or something like this, and it's just a really great punctual scene. That ends with her like leaving that gold chain, and then the gold chain comes back in when she later finds out about her husband's infidelity, and he'd given the mistress one of these gold chains as well, and what that says about her connection with him. And it's It's quite complicated. It's not interested in simplifying out of these concepts or simplifying these characters. They're all like very flawed, sort of real feeling people that are being interacted with in the movie.
Yeah. And you can tell that she gets like kind of throughout the film, she's getting more of like a sense of closure the more that she's able to discover and process.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just like the details that they kept returning to that you wouldn't necessarily expect them to. Like the little thing going on with the guy and his flute playing it on the street. And that line, like, you always got to hold on to something. But then he's like, the flute is left there. And she's interpreting it in this kind of like nihilistic way of like, oh, yeah, everything goes. Like, you're not going to have something to hold on to. Like he comes back, says you've always got to hold on to something. And it comes back later when they're talking about the composition of that song that they're working on. It's like, yeah, let's add a flute here. Like he was playing earlier. And it's like, oh, this is so thoughtful and like this complicated like tapestry that's all. The longer it goes on and the more you see what it's doing, the more there is to appreciate. Yeah, there's so much great detail. Like, at least two of these movies, like they use animals a lot to sort of, for, visual metaphors or explore ideas. This one has the baby rats thing, which kind of feeds into this relationship with her mother who has dementia and keeps mistaking her for her sister. She's asking her, like, was I scared of mice, rats, and leading into this cat scene and her borrowing the cat. And yeah, there's even if I haven't fully interpreted what some of this like imagery is pointing at, it's like all of it is thought-provoking in a way I wasn't being washed with quite the same intensity as the other two. It just felt, a lot of intent, a lot of stuff that like I've still got to unpack, sorry.
Yeah.
Just fantastic stuff.
I really like the, there's a shot of just like a table and a plate with the coffee spoon on top of it. And you can see just the shadows start to lengthen. And I found that to be like a really interesting way to just communicate passage of time, like a really unconventional way. Like, people have done like time lapse, but usually it's like you see the sunset or something more explicit. But I love that it's just like a lengthening shadow and you can tell that there's like light coming from the window. And then again, I want to come back to that shot of her dragging her knuckles across the stone wall, because I'm just thinking, brutal. Like, did you just get an like a stunt double to just actually do that? Because I don't know what the fuck. Was that like a fake hand? Like, how did you do that? That was crazy.
It was very convincing.
That was intense.
And one expressive visual.
Yeah. It was brutal in a necessary way. You
kind of communicated, there is like a raging inferno in here. We're not necessarily seeing it every second, but there's something that's not being dealt with right now that's coming out in very unhealthy ways for this character.
Yeah. Yeah, loved it. I think we can move on to the next one. I'm feeling probably a high 8 on this one.
We are simpatico on this one. I was similar, just a solid 8 for me, this one. I thought it was very artistic, creative, inventive. Love the performance, love that dialogue, love every technical aspect. I love this high concept stuff. But man, I tell you what, we haven't mentioned the brevity of all three of these movies. I love that they are all 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So clean, they respect your time. The pacing is great. Like, these scenes communicate what they need to. They explore these themes. Like, yes.
This is probably the slowest pace out of all of three of them. Because there is like a pretty repetitive nature to it. And it is a little bit more like kind of meditative, almost like and mesmerizing.
Yeah. And I'd say that, that fits like thematically with what this character is going through. And just that, the range of emotion with these three movies too is like, when you've only seen Blue, you haven't really, appreciate that yet. Like kind of what you're in for with this as a trilogy and like where it sits.
Great stuff. Next up, we've got Three Colors White. and he's got a different cinematographer for each of these films, which is interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
But again, extreme style when it comes to the colors of this film. He gets he gets shat on by a bird in the first 5 minutes. It's like, oh, white poop.
Mm-hmm.
We're going for that.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about that with when thinking about the concept before seeing them. You're like, yeah, I can imagine blue and I can imagine red. So what are you going to do with white? Is the whole thing going to look like you're in heaven the whole time? And then the second they're in Poland with the snow, and I'm like, of course, snow.
Yeah, lots of snow,
Genius.
Lots of overcast.
Yeah.
There was a toilet in one scene.
Yeah. It's just more, it's less overt than the blue and white. There's still a white item in every shot of the film, kind of in the same way, but I guess it doesn't strike you quite as much because white is just such sort of a neutral. What are the implications of white? It's kind of emptiness, rebirth, innocence, these kinds of things. It's not quite as loaded as the colors blue or red to me, which I think is fitting with what they do with this movie, because it's kind of way more comedic compared to blue. It's such a inverse kind of feeling to the movie. This kind of seediness, this pettiness is really what I loved about it. This petty main character and this interpretation of, well, this one is equality is the is the name that inspires this one. And that seems to be ironic to me. As far as equality, it's it starts off with a divorce in court with this guy, the Polish guy in France. Can't speak French, so they're kind of awkwardly in divorce court talking through lawyers or whatever. And just where they take this it kind of boils down into a revenge story, a warped love story that's all centered around selfishness and revenge.
Yeah,
it's
it's a very odd sequence of events and very complicated.
It's super
characters.
Odd. And kind of playful and goofy.
Yeah, it's weird.
I honestly, I found this, while I don't think it's the best one at all, I actually found this one to be the most entertaining.
It's the most traditionally paced, I would say.
Yeah, it's breezy. The other ones, you don't really have scenes sneaking into another country in a bag that gets stolen, and this kind of goofiness, and the way it wraps up. It's not trying to hit you with these heavy emotions and themes that are played with in the other ones in quite the same way.
Yeah, there's a bit more. The beats in this film are a bit more explicit in terms of the plot developing, and it's the locations are it's moving in a different way.
Yeah, and I think that might be the reason. This is the one I feel I don't need to go back to as quick as the others, where I feel I had the feeling after Blue and Red that there's stuff I missed there, that I've got to comb over this again. Whereas I feel I pretty much got what White was putting down for me to pick up.
Shay said that he watched, because he watched the trilogy with me and he'd seen it before. He said that this one was better on a second watch for him, so I'm sure there's... I think everything in context, knowing what it is before going into it, is going to give it a bit of a different feel to me in a positive way.
Yeah, it was definitely a positive experience. It's one of the more unique trilogy experiences I've had. Watching it in a big chunk.
Nothing else like it.
No, not at all. So going after Blue, and it's wow, this is dour, and I guess we're in for a ride with this trilogy, huh? They're all going to be exploring this misery and grief and all this heavy stuff, and then you jump to White, and it's a bit more kind of comical and breezy, and you have full on jokes and silly scenes.
But there's still some a good chunk of serious and emotional elements to this as well.
Yeah, it balances it really well. The dynamic that the main character has with the other Polish fellow who he kind of forms this bond with, and they start a business together, and there's a really great scene with the it's kind of like a Fight Club, before Fight Club, with the gun and pulling the trigger, but it's a blank.
Yeah.
And he's kind of commissioned by this guy to take him out. because he doesn't want to live anymore. And it gives him a perspective after the blank.
The first, like, Three Colors Blue almost feels like a somewhere between like a Von Trier and like a Andrei Yevsev, or however you pronounce his name. Like something just like so unabashedly like depressing, but like with a purpose.
Yeah.
And then this one almost feels more like kind of like a Coen Brothers movie in ways.
Yeah.
Just kind of the silliness of what winds up happening, and just like a guy in a suitcase smuggling himself, and then oops, he doesn't, things go wrong, and then they steal the suitcase and he gets mugged immediately.
Exactly. So much happens, and this character goes through such extreme changes, like from the start of the movie where he's literally homeless, doesn't have a passport. He's like, there's this recurring thing of him playing a comb like on the streets for cash and whatnot,
which is also kind of like just a silly imagery as well.
But like where that goes, and he's like, what, like half an hour later he's like a bodyguard, and he like screws over these criminals that are going to do something with this land. And he has this like, and the whole like punchline of it all being this petty revenge mission to try and get back at his wife, who kind of has this like, ex-wife. He has this abusive kind of toxic relationship with him, just kind of like torturing each other, and his the payoff at the end is like so wild that like
it's very
you come to the realization that like that was his motivation for this whole thing, just so he could fake his death, so he could see his ex-wife cry at his funeral, so then he could know that she did care.
Like the interpretation on Wikipedia anyway is like her hand signals are gesturing that she wants to marry him again, which is fun. It's kind of almost like a Phantom Thread kind of relationship. Like, man, this is probably a little toxic.
And the crying and everything. It's like, this is a funny, it's like a complete inverse type of emotion to where you end with like Blue. It's like, what a strange reveal.
Very bizarre.
It is bizarre, but something about it does work. It's very entertaining. This weird like comedy crime thing they're going for. Although I do think it had, and I'm torn to be honest, because I thought the flashback to the wedding towards the end, like actually showing it, was like quite a nice place to end it. But then you wouldn't get the jail scene like right after, and you have to have that jail scene in there. As the full stop.
I felt like this one was not only the most traditionally paced, but also the most traditionally presented, in the sense that obviously throughout the trilogy, like the color grading and choices for sets and props are all super interesting and purposeful, and really help the visual experience of the film. But especially after just seeing Blue and having that in my mind and memory for what to expect for the trilogy, like this one just doesn't go nearly as hard or extreme on the visual and audio choices in terms of like camera work and fully utilizing the medium of filmmaking through editing and sound design. And
that's why it's the comedy and the goofiness and sort of like the comedic performances that are sticking out in my mind more than like specific images or scenes that like I was bringing up during Blue. Not that there aren't good scenes, but there aren't. The imagery just isn't quite as striking in this one, to me anyway. Not that it's bad. It's just solid for and what it needs to be for what they're exploring here. It might have been too much. It might have been like, irritating with that tone to like really stylistically jank it up as well.
It might feel conflicting, I guess. There are a lot of really like strikingly memorable characters just from how they look and how they act, which also kind of remind, that's something that's true for a lot of Coen Brothers movies. So maybe that's part of why it reminded me.
Well, I was thinking of The Man Who Wasn't There. Just because the hairdresser thing. That was after this, obviously, but like, there were a couple actual. I was wondering if the Coens were inspired by these movies in some form, because there were a couple of like with that hairdresser thing, with the bowling alley scene in Red.
True.
Yeah, and this is obviously before it.
Yeah, like a similar shot even in that one.
Yeah, very similar. We'll get to that, I'm sure. Yeah, it wasn't. I thought his like the casting for his brother was really great. That was a cute, like, little memorable character he's living with. Yeah, you're right. Lots of great little bit characters.
The guy who he was like haggling with. Or like, I need you to cut 10 heads. He's like, no, 5 at most. Okay, 7. Like, why are you even haggling?
Yeah, there is something odd about it. See, that's what you're saying. It's strange in a way that Blue just isn't.
Yeah. And what's funny is like Julie Delpy, like she's like, I'm pretty sure she like when I was watching through the opening credits, I thought that she got top billing, but I guess maybe she didn't. But from my understanding of the trilogy, maybe it was just like the particular marketing that I saw. Like I thought it was going to be a trilogy of like all female lead characters, and so I was kind of shocked that she was barely in the movie. I was like, oh, this isn't really about you.
And I'd thought because both Blue and Red have like a French or a Polish woman with like brown hair and brown eyes or whatever. I was like, oh, is the third movie like bringing her back? Is there going to be like something like that? But no, it was way less like sprawling in that kind of way. But White is where the characters from White do show up in Blue very briefly. But if you hadn't seen White, you wouldn't know it yet. Because of course the main character from Blue has a quick little cameo at the beginning of White in that courtroom scene. This is what I mean about these like little tiny links, little sprinkling of these other movies.
Wow, dude.
Where like
Blue.
Yeah. it doesn't quite like stop everything to a halt so you can like scream and clap for R2-D2 or whatever. But if you're paying attention, you get that nice little reward.
My way. Trois couleurs bleu. Regarde.
Oh man.
All right. Yeah, so
that was another thing I was surprised by, that only one of these is set in France.
Oh yeah, that was kind of shocking too. So because it's funny that the excuse is like, oh well, French money financed the films, and I'm just going to do this. And then this one was mostly like about Poland. It was set within Poland mostly, which the director's Polish, so. That makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't particularly care. I was just like not expecting it. Just sort of like the way it's, on the DVD, it's like, I thought it was going to be, all in France and all about that specifically. But like all the other surprises, I'm kind of glad it's not. And each one is so unique and different, but is able to, have these little overlaps and it not clash or be distracting.
Damn. I'm kind of, so this is I believe you're in the same boat with me that this trilogy is the first that we've seen from this director. Right? Yeah,
I'm not familiar with this fellow otherwise. No.
Shay said Decalogue's really good, which is like the 10 Commandments, and that also has a Criterion.
Oh, sweet.
572 minutes, though.
Nice. There we go. Okay. Oh, well, it wouldn't be the first time.
Maybe for a future, instead of a trilogy, we just recommend that. Maybe, I don't know.
Just yeah.
But that also has kind of like a similar thematic kind of purpose, because it's literally just like, I guess, about the 10 Commandments, but who knows how explicitly. And then I think my uncle's favorite movie is The Double Life of Veronica, which I'm also looking forward to a lot.
1991. All right, so that was just before he started this trilogy, and he of course retired with Red. Like he just retired from directing. I mean,
Go strong.
It's not like he exactly. Yeah, he's got a pretty good catalog behind him. I can't say I blame him.
He died in 1996, age 54. What the fuck?
Wow, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Go out on top.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel like there's the least to say about White. As enjoyable as I found it.
I agree.
It's what I just like go to with it just doesn't seem as like thematically deep as quite the other ones where there's all this stuff to pick apart. It's very entertaining, for sure.
It was a breeze.
I just love
it. Went by pretty quickly.
The fact that one of these three is like is a comedy drama. is awesome to me. I really was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an anti-comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, hold on, there's like a Roger Ebert quote. The trilogy has been interpreted by film critic Roger Ebert, respectively, as an anti-tragedy, an anti-comedy, and an anti-romance. It's like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I feel similarly.
Especially with White. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm kind of excited about the stuff I could pick up on a rewatch or with that framing of like,
yeah,
loosely connected. There is a lot of like intent that you couldn't possibly pick up on a first watch.
Yeah, exactly. If I rewatch them, I'm rewatching all three for sure. And again, it's the entire trilogy is 4.5 hours long, basically.
It's really not that crazy of a commitment. Yeah, it's like one extended Lord of the Rings.
I was just going to use that as a frame of reference.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 7.
Again, I'm right there with you. This was kind of a low 7 for me. I was entertained the whole time. It's just not going to sit in my mind like the other ones in quite the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Even saying that, I do have a fondness for like unique approaches to comedy in film, where it's like, yeah, we're going to... Comedy is so difficult to like integrate and pull off. And have the like traditional like filmic elements going on and really be dedicated to all of it and pull it off. There is something admirable about that. So yeah, strong. Well, no, I said low 7. Give it a low 7.
I'm giving it a solid 7.
Nice.
3 Colors Red. Bet you didn't see that one coming. That's the movie.
Shit. Oh my god!
The final one in the trilogy.
The final. It's got like it's the best critically. It looks like as far as like response.
A lot of people love it.
It's talked about. Well, how did your first viewing wash over you? Because that was Did you have that expectation already? Did you know that it was like considered the best one?
I knew that people liked blue and red the most. I knew that white was the weaker one.
Yeah, that's all I knew as well. That's all I knew, is that people don't like white as much. But it wasn't in a way that I was expecting. It's not that like it's bad, it's just different.
Mm-hmm. So like as soon as the movie opens up, I was like so hyped because we're immediately back into like the aggressively stylistic filmmaking and
the
sound.
Hyper yeah.
Like the way that it opens up with those, like, how do I even describe it? It's used on like the Criterion cover, the like red kind of like threads of light that are curved. Like I don't even know how they got that shot.
It was very cool. It looked like like a pattern that's like being
almost.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a kaleidoscope. Yeah, you're right. That's for like the data traveling through the cables. Yeah, which is one of the themes of this movie. This kind of like communication, technology emphasis. This one kind of has one of the more interesting hooks to me with this old man character who used to be a judge, and this unexpected relationship that forms with him and this young model,
Judge Red.
I mean, it's not Judge Red. Yeah. How long have you been workshopping that one?
I just thought of it right now.
that rocks. I did like how they say judge. Le juge. Le juge.
Yeah.
Le juge.
Because that's another word, juge. Yeah. And I forget how to spell it, but every time I see it spelled.
That is definitely one of those words I would struggle to spell.
Juge.
Sure, yeah, the juge of that guy.
It's a real word.
Yeah.
And I forget what it... Yeah, I don't know. I've heard it a handful of times. I don't know how to search up the word because I don't remember how to spell it. Leave a comment. Leave a comment. How do you spell juge?
And not judge in French.
Yeah. How do you spell, I guess, the word English word juge that might not actually be English, and I don't know where it's from, but people use it in English sentences.
A little life hack because I'm really bad at spelling, but like I know a lot of words, so like sometimes I get stuck when I'm like trying to spell something out. But on your phone, if you like do the dictate option, you can say the word and then it'll spell it for you and be like,
juge.
oh, there we go. Well, I was actually about Shall I try it and see what?
Please.
If I say zhuzh, like what it does.
Zhuzh.
Let's see. Zhuzh. Zhuzh. It just put Josh.
Josh.
Okay, that didn't work at all.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Zhuzh.
Maybe it's spelled Josh.
Yeah, maybe it's spelled Josh. Yeah, I really enjoyed how, like the cinematography and sound design was more extreme in this one. Like I'm a big fan of like sensory films especially in films where that's not the entire point, is just being sensory. Like those can be great too.
That's what's cool though, but that juxtaposition of this old ass character with this like really energetic kind of camera work, and there's some really memorable presentation. Yeah.
He did a great job, Jean-Louis Trintignant, and I'd only ever seen him in Amour before, but I immediately recognized him. So it was nice to see him in a younger role, and he's been acting since, I guess, technically the 50s. So
yeah, he's got a huge like IMDb.
Yeah, huge catalog.
And he's kind of the philosophical core of the film. This one kind of gets a bit more. What's the best way to describe it? It's bordering on supernatural, or more so just like playing with those kind of ideas a bit more, maybe in more of a
like teasing
kind of religious sort of way. Yeah. With his character being a judge and the things they're talking about, these philosophical concepts they're talking about, and him, he like predicts weather and this kind of thing, which all like coalesces with this one of these payoffs, these 3 movie payoffs we're talking about towards the end, which again, I think it would still work fine on its own, this movie, but this one probably has the most significant integration of all the 3 protagonists.
It makes it seem the most like it's tight and like, okay, I get the connection.
And it's
now.
And ignoring the like obvious order of the flag, like you have to watch Red last, where nothing would really be
otherwise Red. The reveal makes literally no sense.
Exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. Whereas
I mean, maybe you could watch it out of order, but I think it makes more sense. Obviously,
you won't get the payoff. In the same way you don't get the payoff in Blue for the White character being in it because you haven't seen White yet. It's kind of a. But what they're showing is way less significant. This whole like boat capsizing end sequence is like it's quite a big scale switch up compared to these other movies. Nothing of that sort of magnitude happens. They're all quite sort of small scale. So I do like that it's able to build up to an event kind of like that, but it doesn't feel like a crash sort of, oh, this is convenient that all these main characters have wound up here. It's like, oh no, there's something kind of plausible about this. It's very sort of tastefully put together, that sequence too.
It's not sensationalized.
No, even though it is using some shots from like a real channel crossing disaster, I think. Like some shots from it, but it's
sense.
yeah, like if it really happened, like, and it doesn't stand out, and it's just like on the news. It's not distracting. But yeah, I agree with the mise en scene, the red stuff. Coming back to that, just the dedication to it is pretty mind blowing. I'm just thinking about like when there's shots of like cars driving around and stuff like this, where like obviously between cuts you're not necessarily thinking about it, but it's like, man, they've had to put together with so much intent, or like location scout these places, or like, oh, we got to find a red table for this bit. We got to make sure this random thing is red, and it's like, yeah, really committed to that in a unique way that doesn't feel superfluous.
Also, the camera work in this was really I love the precise and like flowing, lots of motion, lots of movement of the camera work in this film, just how it like moves through different rooms of the house depending on the scene. And when it does get to that extreme of its presentation, it's always in like an impactful kind of moment.
Yeah, there's just so much intent.
It's used sparingly and appropriately, but when you see it, it's there and it's strong.
I just remembered there's kind of a recurring slot machine thing, which kind of feeds more into that supernatural.
Oh yeah, I
like,
love that shot
or,
when it was like following the car and then ends on the slot machine.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Again, kind of like what I was saying
really
with
tight.
Blue, just these little details you just don't expect to be reincorporated, but they're reincorporated in like a really unexpected, expressive way, like that one. Yeah. So what's the interpretation with this one on the if the first one's liberty, second one's equality, this one's fraternity or brotherhood. How do we interpret the brotherhood nature of red?
Well, I mean, I think it might be interpreted just through like their connections, and like he, wound up outing himself just out of like a sense of, I guess, I don't know if we could call it brotherhood, but like
yeah, well, they kind of form a bit of the relationship the main characters form is unusual, and they don't really have much in common. Like they don't. It's kind of through a comedy of errors that they even know each other, and the bond they form is like quite unexpected and strange. So maybe it's about that sort of thing, like connecting with someone by all rights you maybe shouldn't, or especially with the nature of like what they're talking about and the illicit activities that the old gentleman is up to with the spying and the moral quandaries that he keeps bringing up around being an ex-judge and like people he's I said about the fidelity thing. That's another big beat in this movie. And it was something I was confused by on my first watch, where like they keep going to this kind of B plot where it's someone who's tangentially related to the model character. They keep going to his B plot, and I was kind of just like, where's this going? Like, I feel like this kind of cheating infidelity thing was explored pretty well in Blue already. We've had the comedic edge in Red. So what we do in here, with White. So what we do in here with Red. But the ending, I really think, makes it all make sense. It explores the concept, the old man revealing his parallels with this character we've been following and kind of experiencing the same thing.
Yeah. And I think a big part of the movie is just like him being able to like come clean and reveal things about himself, because it seems like he doesn't really
he's
have much of, he didn't before that point have much of a life outside of just like it's voyeuristically like eavesdropping on people and doing that like by himself.
Yeah, he's quite like a nihilistic character, and like when there's that great shot of him with the kettle that he like accidentally pours a bit on the floor. She like makes a comment and he just continues doing it just to illustrate how he just doesn't really care about anything. Like, it doesn't matter to him. This his interpretation is quite negative of the world, and that great scene later on after the model invites him to one of her shows, and he kind of reveals all. And it kind of makes everything fall into place. And you're like, oh, okay, I see what you've done here. It's kind of another tapestry type thing. Oh, this makes sense. I take a step back. This all fits into place. This is actually quite a good payoff, and makes this old gentleman quite a complicated character, and the like concepts they're playing with of like, well, go and reveal the truth then, is what he challenges the model to do when she finds out that he's listening in on the neighbors and whatnot. And the moral quandaries that come about from that, of like, his point is kind of like, well, I'm not really making this worse. Like, they'd already made their decisions and it was already gonna end up in fire. I might as well get my entertainment from it. And every now and again, I've done something good. And it's just like when I was a judge, like some of these calls I got right, some of them I got wrong. I love those lead two characters are like the real hook for me here. If it's not my favorite one.
They've got a really interesting and watchable dynamic.
Yeah, it manages to get a little bit of that playfulness that White has too, with that. 'Cause Blue is definitely the most dour by far, even though they all have the drama aspect going on, and this has the drama too. But yeah, I do like that playfulness with them. It's just a unique character, and it's platonic as well for the most part. Like, she's not interested in him that way, and it's not about that, which I like too.
Yeah, I really love the like that theater hall location.
There were a bunch of great locations, actually.
I like that scene a lot, and like with the storm outside, just the whole mood of the scene, and also the music in this one is very different. It's a little bit like more sinister and foreboding at points, which I find interesting.
Yeah, and there's kind of a broken glass motif as well in the movie. Kind of like how there's this close up and emphasis on reflection and these kind of things in Blue. That was an element I was noticing with that, going back to that Big Lebowski bowling scene. That sweeping shot that winds up. It focuses on like a broken glass with like beer in it and a pack of like Marlboro cigarettes, like that the other character is shown to be smoking a bunch. And going back to the animal thing as well, there's a couple of dog characters in this movie that make up a significant part of it.
It definitely adds like a very different tone, having that kind of like dog companion for a good chunk of the movie.
And it gives it a good plot reason to just get moving as well. Like, that's kind of what it's the instigating event. She hits this dog, has an address, and that's kind of how it all gets going. One of these like comedy of errors, like wrong place, wrong time type ways to start a story.
Or right
like
place,
that when
right
it feels,
time, kinda.
Or right place, depending how you look at it.
Interesting sequence of events.
And again, I did feel like there are definitely things I would need to pick up on a rewatch for sure. I felt that in the same way I did with Blue, with all this stuff, with the communication, with the way it is linked with the other movies. This idea of brotherhood and how they're exploring it. I don't know. I feel like I probably would enjoy this more on a second watch, specifically more than the others. Mostly because of just how that B plot was flowing for me with this guy finding about the cheating. But it's weird. Like it works better now.
I think having the whole thing in context is
exactly
is just going to make for a more solid experience. And I mean, we still loved the movies even on a first watch, but I think they're all meant to be watched like a second time together.
Definitely, yeah. I thought this had the strongest ending, personally, out of the three.
Well, I mean, it felt like you could tell it was the ending as it was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's not just like a good ending in and of itself, but it does wrap off the whole trilogy, like conceptually. Puts a nice bow on it.
Gives a lot to think about. And I would love to watch these again. Glad I got the 4K Criterion. And looking forward to his other films at some point. So I can cross that off the list of the directors who've made a lot of great things that I haven't checked out yet.
Another one to add to the backlog. I really enjoyed this. As far as like a trilogy is concerned, can you think of another one that's like this kind of abstract, but also has enough like connecting elements? It's not like an Edgar Wright like unofficial sort of trilogy thing where there's like
there's a lot of other trilogies that exist like that Edgar Wright one where a fucking Chan-wook Park has like his Vengeance trilogy, and it's like, okay, well,
it's not a trilogy like this.
In some ways you could almost say that like calling it a trilogy is almost like retrospective, whereas this one feels, despite not having like the clearest connections and through lines throughout each of the films, you can tell like, oh, okay, like these are companion pieces and they were always meant to be.
Yeah. And it really stands out to me with like most trilogies that people think of, the obvious ones they know. It's usually from a first movie that like is amazing and great, and it's like that's what we nailed it the first time. Let's make 3 of these to that level of that first movie. Whereas this, it's like the middle one is like so different to the first one, which is so different to the third one. But they also work together as a whole.
Yeah.
It's just such a different experience to a Godfather, Batman, Star Wars, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very unique. I'm glad we watched them. And I guess I'm going to give this one a low 8 out of 10, probably.
Yeah. I think we had the same score for all of these.
Bazinga.
Yeah, this was a low 8 for me too. Yeah, for the same reasons. I feel like a lot of things I said about blue also kind of apply to red, more so than they do to white. I can understand why red is the favorite, and who knows, I might see that for what it is on rewatch one day. But yeah, really solid. I love our high concept, like explored well creatively. Like just show me some things I haven't seen before, and all 3 of these do that in some way, to be honest. It's just, I think blue does it in a way that connected with me the most. Yeah.
Dank. All right, question time.
Let's do some lovely questions then from the Sardonicast community. If you want to leave your own questions for future episodes, head over to the suggestion thread over on the subreddit. Well, actually, no, I'm going to have to just lower the mood a little bit and throw some shade. You know what?
Oh shit!
This we got to address this, okay? Because we got a problem in the community that we got to deal with, and I do have to say that this user has been banned for this comment, so we don't accept this in the community. So yeah, an unkindness can get us going. Why are you gay?
Who says I'm gay?
GAE specifically too. I consider myself more GAYE, not GAE. So yeah, you can take that and do what you like with it. But an unkindness is banned from this community.
Rip.
I hope you agree, because
I think so.
I'm putting my foot down on that one.
Who says I'm gay?
But Groglet,
You are gay. Do you know what I'm referencing there?
You are gay.
Do you know, like, have you seen the thing?
That does like ring a bell. I've got like such brain rot from all this stuff. I feel
yeah.
just
so it
catch
got
me
turned
up.
into a bit of a meme. So basically, I think it was like on a Ugandan television program where there were
Best of the best.
like 2 hosts, and they brought on someone from the LGBT community to, I guess, just like kind of harass them over.
Oh, yeah.
And so
this is unlocking something now.
It's for some reason, it's just like, even despite the like obviously tragic and terrible circumstances surrounding it, and discrimination and that these people face in that environment, it sucks. It got turned into a bit of a meme just because it sounds funny when the like tiny conversation that they have, and basically it's very memeable. So the conversation goes, "Why are you gay?" And then, "Who says I'm gay?" "You are gay." And that's basically that's just the meme. That's what I was.
That's
doing.
really making me think of who's that character? He's that fella. He's like in the reactionary politics scene, I think.
Oh,
where he asks these kind of questions.
Fucking Jesse Lee Peterson.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Jesse Lee. Oh my god.
His style of questions is a little bit different. He loves to do the thing where he says an answer and pretends it's a question. He'd be like, "So you're a beta cuck. How do you feel about that?" like that's every single one of his questions. Like, so Trump is the great white hope and is the best president. How do you feel about that? Like, that's not a real question. Like, what do you? It's just loaded every time. But yeah, I was just memeing in the comments.
Wait, that was you?
What? I'm banned.
Well, Adam's banned, and Groglek has something that, I don't know, It would get me banned. Is there a movie recommendation that any of you would decline? Would Adam decline another Star Wars discussion? What would make you veto? What would make you put your hands up and be like, you know what, even for entertainment, I'm not even going to play with this one?
No, but like if let's say we're doing a recording in 1 week and the recommendation is like 10 hours, I might be like, hey, can we save this one where I can have more time to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
That would be my veto. Although there was at least one time where we did an entire trilogy within a week. I do remember.
Yes. Yeah, but I feel like that's almost like part of the fun. It's like, you know, like let's go. Let's see what craziness.
If it was going to happen, it would have happened with Rogue One. Okay, I'm a good fucking sport.
Yeah, or like I don't know. We've talked about some pretty crazy stuff. You know, Satan Tango and these like really inaccessible films and difficult to wrap your head around stuff. Yeah, I actually can't think of anything I would decline. To be honest.
All right.
Because I don't know. Did I really want to like watch the Bad Boys trilogy? I hate those movies. Like, did it for the show, you know?
Mm-hmm. There's a fourth one. Yeah.
It's like one of the more successful movies this year so far.
Yeah. Bad Boys Ride or Die. I can't believe they called the third one Bad Boys for Life and not the fourth one. Fuck you. And they announced them both like at the same time. It's not like they didn't know they were making a fourth one.
Oh, is it the same? That's even weirder.
I know.
I figured that they used it on 3 because
they knew they were making a fourth one.
Okay. All the Bad Boys fans should be upset about that.
All the BB fans.
Oh my god. Polus24 asks this then. How important do you think a film's title is? Any examples of great/awful titles? Can you think of any films you love that have terrible titles or vice versa? And someone replied to that saying, IMO, there's no worse title than that one time Oliver Stone made a George W. Bush biopic and named it W.
I don't know if that's the worst title.
I actually don't hate that. I actually don't hate that name.
I don't
actually
see
kind of
anything
like that
offensive
name
about that one. Synecdoche, New York, great title.
One that's like really stuck with me is Dream Scenario. I think that's an awesome title. Double Entendres I'm a big fan of. Yeah.
The last movie that I watched that I took a bit of an issue with the title was a really great movie called The Last Stop in Yuma County, and I'm just like, just drop the. Okay, it's cleaner.
Yeah, it's clunky.
Yeah. Just call it Last Stop in Yuma County. Don't call it The Facebook.
What was it? When I went to the cinema last, there was a trailer for something, like an Austin Butler movie called like The Bike Riders or something. That stood out to me as like, that name sucks. I don't know anything about the movie, but that's a bad, lame name. That makes me not want to see it.
Let's see. I'm just going to look at just what's in theaters right now. Yeah, The Bike Riders is a bad title. Oh, fuck it. I don't like how many of those are in the Apes movie titles. And it's like 4 of them
word
now.
salad, yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Just fucking...
Like, naming the order, that's the hard
Kingdom
part.
of the Apes. I don't give a shit.
Rise, God, what are the words they use? Like, and which order is it? I have no clue. I could not tell you. Rise, Dawn, Erupt. I don't fucking know. One I love though, Naked Lunch.
Great title.
Cool, weird. Just 2 words, a strange combination of words. Gets you thinking, gets your attention. Dig it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's titles. I'm sure there's some that I'm not thinking of right now. That
surely the ultimate worst one is the Bye Bye Man. That's the meme.
But I mean, it wouldn't have made money if it wasn't called that. Nobody would have talked about it if it wasn't called the Bye Bye Man.
True.
Mithrigan's a terrible title.
Oh yeah, you're right. And didn't they just like announce a sequel for it or something?
Yeah.
It's got like an 8 in the title or a spin-off or something like this.
I think it's Mithrigan 2.0. But it's just save it for the third
stop,
movie,
don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the subtitles are like weird, like Silent Hill Revelations, where you just throw a word like
Yeah, that sucks.
that doesn't mean anything. That's
games do that a lot. Yeah,
think of a title.
Yeah, it's like you run out of. Yeah, you're just making me think of like Assassin's Creed now. It's like spin off and spin off and spin off. You got your Brotherhood, you got your Revelation, you got your Reservation, you got your Dehydration. Yeah,
I think
you got just all of it.
Yorgos has been pretty good with titles. Killing of a Sacred Deer. That's a good title.
Mm-hmm. Dogtooth.
Yeah.
Good title. I like it when it links in or makes you think or even forces you to have an interpretation in some way, like Poor Things or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, what are we taking away from this title?
I like when it's not like too explicit and not just like a line from the movie.
Not too literal necessarily. Yeah. Okay. I feel like we got some good ones in there. Let's do this one about animated movies from Big C Bowler. Do you think the conversation surrounding kids' movies would be more productive if we thought about them as more all-ages movies? Because I feel like doing that would help differentiate between movies that have mass appeal for any age versus movies that are made for kids. Basically, I see this as a way we can squash the arguments such as, calm down, it's just a kids' film. It's not that deep.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not... there's a lot we would need to change about, like, how people engage with animation culturally in the West, particularly. It's an annoying spiral pattern that we've kind of gotten.
And it's like a catch-22. Yeah, we're stuck in it.
Yeah,
but it's also like these are some of the more popular films that most people see. You know, like there's some of the broader, more watched, more successful films.
I think Inside Out 2 is the biggest movie of the year right now.
Mm-hmm. As long as Pixar's on the poster, then everyone, people of all ages will see it.
I can't believe it beat Dune already. The movie hasn't been this movie. Yeah, the movie's beat Dune Part 2 already.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of quiet right now, but
because I couldn't name a person that I know that went to see Inside Out 2. I guess I'm out of touch.
I suppose, yeah. What is the competition? You know, like it is pretty like dry right now.
Yeah,
as far as like the big Hollywood stuff,
like Dune Part 2, I was under the impression that was like a big thing, and I guess it was. But fuck, Inside Out 2 is huge. I guess Jesus.
Just wait for Smile 2.
That's fucking annoying. Did you know? The guy who directed Smile is remaking Possession. Did you know that?
Oh shit! I did see that.
Isn't that annoying?
What a horrible idea.
You saw Smile, right?
Yeah, I saw Smile. It sucked.
Like you can, when the thesis of your film is just rip off other movies and don't have an identity of your own, and you're going to tackle Possession. What the fuck? Like, we already know how that's going to go. Like, there's only one way it's going to be.
Yeah, it's just going to be like a quarantine situation.
It's very disappointing already. Like, I'm disappointed in the film before it's even out. It's just a bad idea.
And it's like, what? It has such like a cult status to that film.
Yeah.
So, like, what? You really think you can... you're the guys to give this a new voice? Not that it needs it. Like that film was great.
The director should look at that opportunity and say, "I'm sorry, I'm not the person for the job." Right?
No. Yeah.
If you have any sense of self-awareness,
it's embarrassing.
It's
it's completely embarrassing.
What were we talking about?
I can't remember. I'm just upset about this Possession thing now. But it's also, like with the Possession thing, like the last thing, like what's even the? It's not even like it's not like Alien or like Predator or something from the 80s that like everyone knows and it makes sense to like constantly remake because like it's just in the zeitgeist. Like, is a Possession remake really gonna?
It's probably gonna bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless he just makes it smile again and people go, "Oh."
Oh, dude.
Maybe they're rebooting it because of the title. Because the title Possession is a title that people would,
Yeah,
people who
the one
see
word, the horror implication.
The one horror movie that people see every couple of years that's the same every time. You could call that Possession.
I wonder if, because Smile had all that stuff with like the creature at the end, and there's that sort of creature thing in Possession. I wonder if that's the make it more of a creature feature type thing.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I'm pissed.
No. That is very angering.
What are you doing, buddy?
But I feel like there's constantly like 50 of those always in play. Like this person is making this thing for no reason type stuff.
Yeah, usually it's just Adam Wingard.
Yeah. Well, speaking of wanting improvements, Adidas 198 says, thoughts on how to improve the movie theater experience. We probably need some improving with like, especially with how few people are going, broadly. People they'll see their Inside Outs, but like, man, like what happened with Mad Max? That's already gone. I had a few weeks. I suppose like Deadpool's going to come out and everyone's going to see that, but how do you improve the actual experience and get people to actually want to go there?
Just make better movies. I don't know.
Do you think that would?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots of great movies that people don't see. You're
That's
right.
the thing.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
You got to get people excited about it in some way, but it's getting more difficult to get people excited to see a movie in theaters because so much shit is just like being released on streaming.
There's so much shit,
and especially with Disney.
Streaming.
It's like, okay, well, do I see this in theaters or like it's just going to be on Disney Plus anyway?
Well, yeah.
So
in this mad rush to get into streaming, they didn't even consider how it would cannibalize other parts of like the entertainment industry like this.
Yeah, but it's not like the companies that own the streaming services are the ones that own the theaters, so they probably just don't care. Alamo Drafthouse, now Sony owns them, which that's odd.
Oh yeah, I
saw
that.
That doesn't. I hope that they remain like they retain some semblance of like what their business is and what made their business special to me. But who knows? Hopefully they don't gut it and destroy it.
Only Sony films from now on. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good enough theater that even if all they were playing was Venom 3, I would if there was an Alamo Drafthouse near me, I would watch Venom 3 there. So I like that theater a lot.
Yeah, what about Craven?
Yeah, I would watch Craven in an Alamo Drafthouse. If every movie theater was like an Alamo Drafthouse, I think people would be more excited for movies.
Yeah.
Because they're just a much more pleasant experience.
Oh, yeah, so much nicer. We don't have Alamo here, but we have sort of equivalent type things.
We have pretend equivalent type things that are just not. They don't.
Right. Oh, they're not at the same level. Right.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got Every Man here, which is pretty solid. Nice comfy sofas. Get food and drink.
See, I'm like in terms of what I culturally expect out of people, I'm not a fascist, so I don't need other people to do the things that I enjoy for me to enjoy my things. My concern is that because I'm obviously like a lover of film festivals, these theaters need to exist throughout the year in order for film festivals to use those spaces at that specific point in the year. So that's my concern, and so I'm really cherishing and appreciating the time that I have with TIFF, where that Scotiabank theater still exists. Like, I don't know, that's like 10 different screens that they use there consistently during the festival every year. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do when that disappears. Like, there was news that the land...
What do you mean it's disappearing?
Got sold and they were going to turn it into a condo, but like it's still there. And that news was like 5 years ago. So I don't know what's happening. Or if it's still staying, like...
Oh, does it not make money or whatever?
I don't know. It's not that it didn't make money. It's that the real estate in Toronto, like it's top 3 in the world.
Oh, were they putting up rent or something? Yeah.
It's literally just someone wanted to turn it into a condo and they have so much money that how could Cineplex say no? Because they're a company. Right?
Right. Yeah. I just
so
buy out the building.
I don't know what's going to happen. fucking build around the Cineplex. Like if you want the property to be something that people want to live in, you should probably have amenities like a movie theater in the area, because then people will want to live there more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck people are doing. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, a lot of film festivals already kind of do this like pop-up theater. Like Cannes does it.
Yeah.
Like they'll just like they'll like construct like a little screening room like on the beach, basically.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
So it's like film festivals still have options, I guess. Just I'm concerned about TIFF the most, because that's my favorite festival, and I just knowing like how dense Toronto is, it's like you can't really do a pop-up that, like, it would have to be like in a completely other area of town, which would be annoying. But
yeah, that was convenient with so many of the screenings being like so close to one another. And and there's also just the whole like just cost of living bottom line, where it's like if a ticket to one of the nice theaters, if you want a guaranteed good experience, is going to cost basically the same amount as like a month's worth of a subscription service that the whole family can use. Like, is it really that surprising that people don't want to go to the theater in the same way? You know?
Yeah, like I don't blame people.
If you take a family of 4 to the movie theater and buy them all stuff, yeah, exactly.
It's way more cost effective to do it at home. Everybody's struggling financially right now, so you know, shit's changing so fast.
And there is just this attitude that like movies are bad now. It's like it's a really popular thing where it's like everyone just thinks, yeah, movies are just like political garbage, and that's all they do, and films suck compared to what they used to, so why even go? That's what like a lot of this discussion is about all the time, even though we just had Doom, we just had Civil War, just had a bunch of great movies, but people don't see them in the same further. We're out of that, just everything can make $1 billion, like just 15 years of genre shit. It's just all like crumbling.
Like all survive with digital releases. Like, I enjoy watching things at home, but like just the film festival experience is the one thing that like is not replaceable. Yeah, to me.
Because I agree. I'm fine watching stuff at home, but it's like, man, where else are you gonna get the midnight movie madness? Or you know, some of the best moments with cinema are like when you have a crowd that are all engaged with the thing and you're feeding off the energy of the crowd.
Aggro drift.
Exactly. Get that drift on.
Did I tell you I watched it a second time?
No, really? When?
Yeah, well, because I was in during the furry convention in Atlanta. It happened to be playing. And because it was literally just like a 1 week only, and I was like, okay, the theater's like a 5-minute Uber from the convention.
Was it a late thing too?
It was like a 10 p.m. or something. The theater wasn't packed or anything, and I brought Sarah from Just Too Good. Sarah wanted to watch it. I probably wouldn't have seen it a second time if there wasn't someone else that like really wanted to watch it. And it was like the last night she could have seen it, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do it.
Oh, well, what did Sarah think? That's hilarious.
I mean, yeah, it was.
You got to see that together.
Similar experience and interpretation as we had.
Yeah,
and we were like giggling and snickering throughout the film, and it's almost like funnier a second time, and it's actually a lot more digestible a second time. Like it flew by a lot more, knowing what it is and knowing what the payoffs are, or lack thereof.
Yeah, the payoffs. I feel like that's a great, like, I'm just gonna invite someone over where it's like, it's like midnight, it's 1 a.m. I'm just gonna put this weird thing on and just like watch people's reactions and like just get that sick enjoyment from it.
I wonder how they're gonna release it for like a home release, because so far they've done
Criterion,
LA strip clubs, TIFF, and like 1 week in some cities in the States.
There were a few screenings here. I didn't catch one, but I did hear. Yeah, it was shown here and there. I heard through the grapevine, but not broadly by any means.
Yeah, there's some great theater experiences to be had, and all I can do is to try and help promote that in the culture and hope that enough people listen. So anybody that listens to my channel, you got to help spread the word amongst your friends and family and anybody you think would appreciate any of these film going experiences or festivals or anything that you find special about, seeing a movie in a theater. We got to be the change that we need, that we want to see. And who knows, maybe it's a losing battle, but support your indie theaters, support your, smaller theaters. A lot of these theaters survive off of concession, by the way. So, if you're going to sneak something in, do it in a fucking AMC or a Cineplex. If you're at a smaller theater, you're at local indie theater, buy a drink, buy some popcorn. It really helps them out.
Yeah.
Invite some friends. Keep it alive.
Yeah. I feel like I would be more concerned if there were no good films coming out, and that was not an insane thing to say,
Yeah.
Actually qualify it.
I'm kind of pissed because Kinds of Kindness is out in the States right now, and I was anticipating being able to see it in Vancouver, but right now there's no showtime, so I'm probably going to be seeing it in a week or two when I'm in the States. I'm assuming it'll still be playing somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious how that one does too. Quite long, nearly 3 hours long.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I'm hyped for it though.
What the fuck? God damn it!
What did I just ruin?
It's playing one day only in Vancouver. That from what I can see, and it's the day I'm out of town. God fuck.
That's annoying.
Yeah, that's fucking. Whatever. I'll catch it in the States. Pissed. Always happens. Motherfuck.
Well, seeing as you're pissed, you might have something to say about this one from Pat Burke Jr. 28. What are your thoughts? And I know I'm going to say the words AI. People get so upset when it comes up. But what are your thoughts on AI affecting film preservation? Recently, James Cameron released his film True Lies on 4K Blu-ray, and it came under fire for its lackluster transfer and weird visual problems. Apparently, Cameron used an AI program rather than just remastering the film like normal. Many were mad, and as this new 4K transfer is one of the only legally available ways to watch the film. Do you think more studios will use AI to remaster their older films, and how do you think this will affect film preservation as a whole?
Didn't this happen with his Terminator 2? Isn't James Cameron just notorious for having the worst 4K Blu-rays ever?
I think this isn't the first time. This might be a Cameronism, yeah, because I have heard this before too. Yeah.
What's his fucking deal?
They haven't been great. He does love the tech.
Terminator 2 is ranked among the worst transfers ever.
Yeah,
because apparently they use a bunch of
it's notorious. Yeah,
denoising and removal of film grain, but it winds up making every character look like they're plastic.
Dude.
Which sucks. And you'd think that something so notoriously known to be bad, they would want to I don't know, fix it. But
especially for a film of that kind of reputation.
Yeah, people love that film. It's a classic. So that's kind of annoying.
It feels like outside of this probably being a Cameronism thing, it also feels like a growing pain type thing. Maybe it's rough around the edges now, but if it's possible to do, of course, AI will be used to upscale things, to anything that can make money in any form. If it can be automated with AI, will be done. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a death sentence for restoring or enhancing something. I think that as the technology improves, things like television shows that were shot on tape or something, if you something where maybe there might not be a high quality transfer to even pull from, or maybe even films that there are no original reels available. That might be a circumstance in which you could use this technology in a way that's beneficial. We don't know. I'm not confident that the technology is there yet. Obviously, over the next 5 years, shit's going to get really crazy with AI in terms of what its capabilities are and how it's utilized in society, whether artistically or otherwise. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't think that there's anything like about the word AI that makes James Cameron's transfers bad. It just seems like he just sucks at it and he doesn't give a shit, and he's like he's a big piece of duty because he's been doing this already.
Yeah.
Like before AI was a buzzword. Like this is just what he does. He just poops on his old films, and people pay money for it.
I find this recurring like anger around AI to be like, it's almost like frivolous. Like it's kind of already over in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's already like it's too integrated. Look how it affects the stock market already, that you got to follow the money with this kind of thing. You can complain on Twitter all you want, but as soon as people like stop noticing or stop caring, it's just going to be the standard. Like, when there's like a new Stranger Things like tier thing that comes out and then it's like revealed or is good enough for people to like not care because they don't like it so much.
I mean, if people don't notice it, then it's not possible to care, because at some point the technology will be good enough that you won't be able to tell. So I'm just picturing like a studio making something with AI in secret, and somehow it's good enough or advanced to the point where no one really notices, and then it's somehow revealed after the fact, after it is something that people love. Yeah.
Does that like change anything for people? Like, how do they react then? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of put my hands up.
I wonder if I saw. Late Night with the Devil. So that was like a huge.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it.
I wonder
that's if those title cards, right?
I wonder if that promoted the film more than if it didn't have that controversy, because people were talking about that film for like weeks.
I think you're right.
I think it gave it more promotion. I think Streisand affected it.
Yeah, I wonder if that would be. You could spin that both ways for marketing. Actually, like if AI was getting to such a degree where it was used everywhere, you could market something like, "Hey, we haven't used any in this. We're pure."
The way people market things already by saying like, "We didn't use any CG."
Yeah, so disingenuous.
Did you ever? I think I recommended this. There's like a very awesome multi-part YouTube documentary series thing from a channel called The Movie Rabbit Hole, and it's a 4-part series, and it's titled "No CGI is really just invisible CGI," and he really goes into just how many movies will in the marketing say like, "Oh, there wasn't any CG," but he just shows like, there was CG everywhere. It's just it's just a marketing gimmick, right?
Those are the best types of visual effects.
So I think we're probably going to be in that same space with AI. It's another tool with obviously, very different and more extreme societal implications that we're all going to have to navigate. But yeah, the problem is mostly just when it's bad, which you can make something look bad with or without AI. As soon as we have things that look good, then it's not really an issue for the artistic quality anyway.
Yeah, that's because that's the pushback I see on like social media when like a big AI video will trend or whatever, and then it will be like quote tweeted of like, "This is everything that's wrong with this, blah 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 blah." It's kind of like, I don't know, you're kind of missing the point. Like, yeah, it looks all fucked up now, but like it looked fucked up in 2021, and then a year later it kind of, I don't know, they fixed the hand thing, and it's like the trajectory of this like I don't know what you think you can stop, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, but I know it angers people to no end for whatever reason.
We'll see how it goes. Bringing
up this topic, so yeah, we'll see. I've got my hands up. I'm just kind of watching because it's like, I don't know, like growing up, like all these stories and sci-fi stuff with like this as a subject matter, and like never considering, I'm gonna live through that.
Yeah, cool. Like fucking Picard on the holodeck, he just kind of says, "Show me Five Nights at Freddy's," and then he is in Five Nights at Freddy's. Right? We might see that.
Yeah.
But like people watching that, people weren't like, "Man, what about the property rights?" Nobody watching Star Trek was thinking that. Like, damn, he just got the hologram for free, bro.
Mm-hmm. Damn, that utopia.
I don't know. Shit's getting crazy. One more question?
Yeah, let's end on this one from Past Confusion 3234. Hi, Adam and Alex. Recently, I've attempted to start taking notes during films due to a mixture of remembering my opinions on particular details and also helps given how my brain works, which leads to this question. Given that both of you write notes for films and even Adam uploading them on his Patreon, take notes, Alex, how do you write notes for films? This can be from what you write them on to how you decide what needs to be written down or not. Vague enough question, but I hope it leads somewhere. Keep up the great job, both of you on the podcast and your bloody separate works, baby. Yeah, good question. It's quite like I don't know, like a personal skill, I feel like your notes, and they might look like crazy to somebody else, but it's like the tangents and things I have attached to these notes.
Yeah. It's for your own understanding.
Yeah, exactly. So I might just like note down a moment of something that happens that like when you read the note, it's like, okay, that's an obvious observation. But when I see it, the connection I read is like, oh yeah, that moment started this thought process in my brain. Mm-hmm. And that's just a way of reminding. I learned, what was it, semi-recently that, so I used to always type all my notes. Mm-hmm. If you do it with a pen or pencil, like the connection with your memories seems a lot stronger, at least for me. I remember it a lot better.
People have done studies on that, and that seems to be a thing for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I vouch for it. I definitely remember my notes a lot better when I write them by hand compared to typing. It's also kind of nicer, like with everything so like digitized. It's nice to have a little notepad or whatever.
Yeah.
Have that going on. But do you have any like process? I guess you've just figured it out over the years, like what works for you, what you need to remember.
Well, I used to watch a movie and then just immediately as the credits start rolling, just whip out my phone and just go like just speed type everything that I...
Yeah, I used to do the same. But you just forget so much if you have to like hold all this info over like 2 hours.
I'm pretty good at remembering. And then also typically, I'll watch a movie with someone else and I'll have a conversation with them about it after, and then I'll continue to add
that always
to my
helps.
notes. But now I don't know, speed typing on my phone doesn't do great for my tendinitis issues. So
yeah,
now I just bring like a notebook, and if the movie's really dark, then my notes are a bit messier. But as long as I can,
that's a learning curve.
Understand what I wrote after, then it's good. If I'm doing like a watch along, I'm like at my computer anyway, then I'll probably type my notes.
Yeah.
But
at home when you can like pause and rewind, I'm not as strict, but like
in terms of like what I write down, just anything that I during the watching process, I think is something that I would want to mention, whether it's a criticism or an appreciation, or just something specific about the plot that I want to keep in mind for, whether it's just for my own benefit to remember that about the plot, or if it's something that I think might fit in like a summary if I want to like give some details about it.
Mm-hmm. I guess that, the important part is just understanding how your brain works and how your own notes assist, like, what you want to remember, what you want to achieve with it, what you want to do with it. You just got to do it. Mm-hmm. A lot of this kind of shit just comes down to that. Like, the more you do something, the better you tend to get at it, as long as you're doing it consistently. So
it can be as short form or detailed as you want. It's just for you to understand if you're the one referencing the notes. It can be as messy as you want, as long as you understand it.
And there'll be times where like, you'll like do like 5 bullet points for a whole movie, and then other ones will be like hundreds of bullet points.
I didn't write that much down for like white or red.
I specifically didn't for white. That's just how it is though. Sometimes it doesn't even necessarily indicate like the quality really at all. It's just more your own observations of it.
Sorry, I was yawning. Cut out that silence, editor.
Don't leave the pregnant pause in.
So pregnant.
A nice pregnant pause.
Well, now we have to keep it in because we're talking about it in Spanish. Dang it. All right. Thanks for the questions.
Yeah, this is good.
We're going to have a guest on next episode. Mm-hmm. Gael's going to
Let's go.
Join.
Returning.
And I think this might be his favorite movie that he wants to recommend, but it's something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and he would just be a great part to have to that in the discussion. So I want to have him along.
Yeah.
Koyani Scotzi.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I think that film in of itself is substantive enough. I know it's like technically a part of a trilogy, but like my understanding is the trilogy isn't really that necessary for like the whole thing. Like maybe we'll talk about the other ones at some point, but I really want to watch Kinds of Kindness before the next recording. And I'm, given all the recent circumstances, I don't want to do a trilogy right now. I'm just kind of,
That's totally fair. Even though we just recorded one.
I want to not be crunching and rushing and not giving myself time to have any downtime or think about things. So that's the plan. If something, there's some transitionary things happening, but that should be possible and that should be the plan. If, let's say, we have to do something else, I'll let you know, but it should be fine as far as I know.
Yeah.
Gonna have Gael
awesome
and Koyani Scotzi, which I guess maybe I should try to spell out for people looking for it. It is Koyaa. That's what fucked me up. Is the double A.
The double A.
Nisqatsi. Directed by Godfrey Reggio. A film from 1982. Experimental documentary, kind of. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Watch it with a great screen and a great sound.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm pretty sure you got it for me. I haven't got around to it yet.
Yeah.
So I've got a copy ready to go.
Good.
Yeah, this will be good. I can finally scratch it off the backlog.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We got to go to Sardonicast.com, sign up for premium. $2 a month. You'll get the episodes early. You support the show. Patreon.com/Sardonicast. You can support the show. You get the episodes early. Also, if you want to stay on YouTube, just click the join button. You get a membership. You get to watch the episodes early. Okay? And we fixed that thing, so you still get to, like, you just get the unlisted video.
We fixed the thing.
You can still watch it with your, like in the background and save it to a playlist. And it had all the functionality of a regular YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And go to the Sardonicast Highlights channel, subscribe to that. Click the bell, okay? Click the bell on the main channel even. And...
Ding.
Ding. Ding, ding, ding. We got to figure out our merch still. Give us time.
I know. Yeah.
We'll figure that one out eventually. Did I miss anything?
No. I think you've done enough. I think it's time to rest.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Happy Scoot. Rest in peace. Love you, buddy.
Rest in peace.
And see you next time. And hopefully I'm able to see Kinds of Kindness before then. Bye.